They're going to throw an elbow into somebody's ribs when they're boxing somebody out. They're going to, step on their foot. They're going to whip their head up in so that it looks like they got a foul. They're going to grab their arm.
So the Rockets just won Game 5 of the first round versus the Warriors, and Dillon Brooks is in a lot of controversy right now. So pretty much every single game, Dillon Brooks, after Steph Curry shoots a shot, will pretty much like just start tapping Steph's finger, which is like notoriously been known to be broken. It's like a little not broken, sorry, but injured. It's like a little swollen right now. And a lot of people, because I've been on Twitter during the games, a lot of people will call Dillon Brooks dirty for doing this, and Rockets fans would be like, no, he's not intentionally doing this. This is just how Dillon Brooks normally defends people. And then Dillon Brooks, after Game 5, in the post-game press conference, admits to doing it. He's like, well, if any other injury kind of happened, then people are just going to attack it. So, like, he pretty much just admitted to doing it, which makes Rockets fans look pretty stupid. But I really want to know, in your opinion, like, is Dillon Brooks... One, should it be, because right now, like Draymond even said in a post-game interview that because it's not against the rules, Draymond's not overly mad about it. But Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, both in a post-game interview, said that they were mad about it. So one, Cam, do you think that this should be changed within the rules so that they can't do that? And do you think that Dillon Brooks is dirty for doing this? Because have you noticed it a lot?
I have noticed it a lot. It was actually something that I noticed going back to even like Game 3, Game 2. I'm really glad Draymond said that. I just want to say, because if Draymond comes out and goes, that's a really dirty play. So Draymond, are you aware of yourself?
Did you actually watch the interview?
I watched a clip of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
Because at the end, he did talk about, like people have that same, the way that people are mad at Dillon Brooks right now is the same way that they're mad about Draymond. And Draymond's like, well, I can't be the hypocrite here, pretty much. Like he kind of admitted exactly to being like, I'm kind of the dirty guy. Like I'm not the one to say.
I really appreciate him saying this. Saying that. Dillon Brooks directly admitted that that's what he's doing. So this is my opinion. Do I think it's an overly dirty play? No, I don't, because he's right. If a player, like if Jalen Brunson's ankle is hurt, you're gonna attack Jalen Brunson in the post. If Jokic's right arm is hurt, you're going to force him to go left, and you're going to play aggressive on his right arm. This whole idea of pressing on guys and, really leaning on them in the physical sense when they have these injuries is not unheard of at all.
Right.
The point where I believe it's dirty is because he's not doing it in a way that impacts the game of basketball, but he's rather doing it in an attempt to hurt Steph Curry, right? It would be different if he was contesting the shots and, you know what I mean? Like contesting them and he just hit Steph's thumb. But he is intentionally following through after the shot is released to make sure that he makes contact with Steph's thumb. It would be different if Steph drove to the basket and when the ball was in his right hand, Dillon Brooks intentionally swiped at the ball more and swiped more aggressively at the ball at risk of drawing a foul. But it's not that. What it is it's Dillon Brooks going out of his way to try to injure Steph further. Not take advantage of his injury, but injure him further. And that's why I think it's dirty.
Yeah, I see that point. And it's obvious, yeah. If someone has a broken ankle, or like let's say Luka's already a defensive liability. If he goes to the locker room for 20 minutes and comes back into the game, you're definitely attacking him when you have the ball. Mm-hmm. So Dillon Brooks is doing this. The reason I kind of don't agree, like, okay, so is it dirty? I don't really know the answer to, like, because it really just depends on what you think dirty is. But like, it's not like Dillon Brooks is, I don't know. It's not like he's doing a little too much, right? With because it's not affecting basketball. You're right. I mean, it kind of is because he does kind of jump with him to contest the shot. But yeah, on the landing, I saw a clip. He tried to like tap it like 4 different times. The one thing I'd say it's not dirty. It's not like he's like pushing it. Or he's not like literally doing something that's too much
because he doesn't want to get a foul.
He's just kind of irritating it, and is irritating the same thing as trying to injure him?
When you already have a pre-existing injury, yes.
Because it also affects his jump shot if you irritate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's like it affects his jump shot, but there's a difference. So let's go back to your example. Let's say Luka Doncic comes back in the game with a hurt ankle. You're going to attack him, right? There's a difference between attacking him on defense and attacking his ankle, right? There's a difference between taking advantage of someone having an injury and trying to further worsen that injury to take advantage of them.
So what do you think? Because ankles, that's a little different.
Yep.
If someone has a hurt shoulder,
Yep.
is it wrong to go and you have the ball? Is it wrong to go into the shoulder?
I think that there's, number one, a difference in responsibility between defense and offense. I think offensively, there's always an intention to what you're doing. I think offensively, it benefits you on that play to go into that shoulder in order to get by the defender, correct? On defense, if a guy has a hurt shoulder and you are intentionally shoulder checking him in that shoulder off the ball, that's different. Same as on offense. If you're on offense and you extend an elbow into a guy's shoulder because you know it's hurt to get separation, number one, that should be called a foul. Number two, you are intentionally attacking an injury to gain an advantage, and not gain an advantage in like a basketball sense, but gain an advantage of you're trying to injure them further sense. And that to me goes to the line of being dirty, right? It's at the point where, let's say Steph, like, it would be one thing if Steph was struggling to dribble with his right hand, which I would argue that he is a little bit during this series. He has had a little bit of a difficult time holding onto the ball at different points in time. Amen has been able to swipe him a couple times. Dillon Brooks, Fred, they've all been able to get their hands on the ball. Yeah. So his handle has been a little bit looser. That's completely different. If you want to force him right because he has a hurt right thumb and his handle is weaker on his right hand because of that, by all means, right? But intentionally attacking, after he releases the ball, intentionally attacking the thumb should not fall within the category of a basketball play, right?
So what does it fall under the category of?
It's dirty.
It's dirty? Do you think there should be some sort of rule implemented? Because that's what Steve Kerr was saying.
The hard part about it is, and I say dirty because it's on a semantic level, I don't think, because that's going to get to the point where all of a sudden defenders aren't allowed to make contact with the offensive player's hand after they release the ball.
Right.
So you can't do that. You can't make it a rule that all of a sudden – I understand Steve Kerr standing up for his player, and I want him to do that, and I'm glad that he did that. You can't implement a rule like that because then you're just further limiting the defense on all fronts. Draymond Green is one of the guys who benefits most from that rule, that you can make contact with the player's hand instead of making contact with just the ball, right?
Right.
So he's a guy who genuinely has not made a career out of that, but has made a lot of great plays because that's a rule, and those would have been called fouls otherwise. You can't take that rule out of the game or alter that rule, right? I do think, then this is the fine line, right? It would be nice if the NBA could look at that and look at the intentionality, because a flagrant is defined as a move in basketball that is intended to make contact with another player in a non-basketball type of way, right? Like intentional harmful contact. So it would be nice if the NBA could say, look, there's a pre-existing injury, so if we see someone attacking that injury in a physical non-basketball way, we're going to call like a flagrant foul on that. The problem with that is it falls so much into the category of semantics. Again, I don't think you can
because
do that.
You can't like you could say Steph has an injury, but he's on the court. You can't just say like,
you're right.
The Rockets would just say,
but how are you going to attack a guy's injury if he's on the bench?
I mean, you can't. I could see maybe like after the game giving a player a technical foul, but then that's the NBA admitting that, hey, they're doing something dirty,
and we're just not doing
anything about it.
I think at the end of the day, regardless of whether we like it or not, quote unquote dirty play has always been a part of the league and always will continue to be, because offensive players are crafty and defensive players are crafty. They're always going to look for an edge. They're always going to look for something to do. They're going to throw an elbow into somebody's ribs when they're boxing somebody out. They're going to, step on their foot. They're going to whip their head up in so that it looks like they got a foul. They're going to grab their arm and make it look like that. All of these things that are impure, dirty, whatever, they're just a natural part of the game. You can't get rid of them.
You can't stop it. There'd be so many stoppages in the game.
That being said, I certainly qualify this as dirty.
Yeah.
And I'm the first to admit I may have bias as a Warriors fan, but I would certainly elevate this to the level.
But if there was no injury, it's not dirty.
No, because there's no extra reason for, if he's just doing that.
Yeah.
Like, unless it was more forceful contact. Again, pre-existing injury versus not pre-existing injury. If you bump knees with someone, yeah, it's going to hurt. But if you bump knees with someone after you dislocated your knee or you have a meniscus tear, then that's going to really dramatically affect you. Right.
Then it's way worse. Yeah. Because you can't tell players, not to attack injuries. Like, we were at the rec a couple weeks ago and we were playing against a guy who literally, like, it looked like every time he moved, his legs looked like they were going to snap in half. Do you remember this? Like, we were just playing for fun, like 4-on-4, and it was like an older dude with a brace on. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that dude.
But I literally, because it's just for fun, I feel bad. I'm not just going to attack him every possession. we're in a like when we're in a adults men league and I see someone playing through an injury, you're going to attack them a little bit, but you're not just trying to do that every possession to get that kind of edge.
I'm going to attack them in the sense that I know I can get by you because you have an injury. I'm not going to attack them in the sense that I'm going to intentionally get low so I run into your knee so you get hurt.
Right, yeah. So it's an adult men league. You take it a little more serious, but you're not still trying to do anything unethical. But yeah, once you get to these professional levels, millions of dollars are on the line, and you
championships and millions of dollars, and you're not holding anything back.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where you can't blame Dillon Brooks for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion, even if it's a little bit unethical, like that's just who he is, and it's not so bad where I think it has to be stopped.
Dillon Brooks is the type of guy you would love to have on your team and hate when he's on anybody else's team. So.
Yeah. I like Dillon Brooks when I'm rooting for him, and then when I root against him, because I wouldn't say I'm like a fan, but
it's the same with Draymond Green. I mean, people hate Draymond Green, but if you had Draymond Green on your team, you would love him because he's an incredible defender and he gets away with the stuff and he helps your team win.
And he stands for your players. Like he stands for the rest of the Warriors.
Yep.
And then
dude, did you see did you see the post game? When he was talking about Pat Spencer getting ejected.
Oh no, what did he say?
Dude, they asked him what he thought about Pat Spencer headbutting Şengün and getting ejected, and he was like, "That was amazing."
I know Draymond
that was awesome. Dude, he was actually cheesing.
Because that was so I mean, props to Pat Spencer. Not only did he hoop and make the starters come back in, which you never want if you're the Rockets because you always risk an injury and obviously you just want to go ahead and secure the win. Yeah. Then to go headbutt the best player, dude, like that's dirty. But okay, I'm not against dirty. Personally, I don't care that much if you're dirty or not. So that's funny to me.
Yeah, to me, again, that it is dirty, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I gotta let you gotta let it go on all fronts because Şengün came up to him, and shoved him, and he responded by headbutting him in the nose. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know, dude. And
looked like a cartoon.
Dude,
like, there's no way, bro.
I also like I that was my favorite moment from the whole game too. Because I'm like...
There weren't that many.
There weren't a lot of moments to be proud of. But, that was my favorite moment from the game. And that really did... I mean, I hope it translates to tonight. But, dude, just him the smallest guy on the court standing up to, like, the biggest guy on the other team. Steven Adams wasn't on the court at the time.
Second biggest,
yeah. Steven Adams wasn't...
second biggest. You do not headbutt Steven Adams, dude.
Steven Adams will, like, punch you into a puddle. But he's also, dude, Steven Adams, the more I think about it, I'm like, Steven Adams might be my favorite player in the NBA that I like for non-basketball reasons.
Yeah.
Like,
just nice guy. Just let go of my point guard.
There was that fight that broke out in game 4 between the Rockets and the Warriors. He, like, grabbed Quentin Post and just, like, carried him away and then, like, patted him on the back. Like, and after the game, too, he came out and they asked him about the physicality and he's like, it's just part of the game. You can't be mad about it. Things happen. It's just like he's not even one of those guys that's like ever gets mad about physicality because he's just like, it's just part of the game. And it's just what you do. Can't be mad.
He really is a gentle giant. Like that's
I think if all of us could aim to be Steven Adams, that would be a better world.
Oh, I'd look sick.
Dude, I'd look awesome, but
I know. So we kind of like we disagreed a little bit, but I honestly thought it'd be a little bit more. I don't know. I was talking to my other friend, and he thought like you just shouldn't attack injuries, which is like I get that. Like you want to be nice, but it's the NBA, dude. Millions of dollars are on the line.
Listen,
if you're on the court, you are liable. If you are on the court with an injury, you're liable for that to happen.
Yeah. Michael Jordan was not a nice guy. LeBron James might be a nice guy off the court, but he's not a nice guy on the court. No. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Steph Curry talks a lot of shit on the court, dude. Every single player they ask, they're like, yeah, he seems like such a great guy off the court, but you get on the court with him, that dude's still like a killer, and he wants to like get you.
That dude would piss. Like people say like they would never want it, or the hardest person to guard is Steph Curry because of how fast he is on the court, how much he moves, and that's all true, and he's the greatest shooter ever. But even he's doing all that and talking shit, like that's crazy.
You underrate how much he would piss you off too. Like it's not even the factor of that. I thought about this too. Being in the NBA, like being an NBA perimeter defender might be one of the most infuriating jobs in the world because you can do your job perfectly and they still just might make the shot.
Yeah.
At
least interior defenders, like if you have to guard Giannis, like you play good enough defense that you're so close to the rim. It's a lot easier to get a stop. It's more on you. It's on the defender.
Yeah.
Perimeter wise, you can play as good. You'd have to literally block the shot in order to stop or steal the ball to stop them entirely, or else they're just hitting. the craziest because it doesn't look as open as it really. Or sorry, shots look a lot more open from the TV than they really are. Because the game is so fast.
But
yeah, I mean,
I know it is dirty, but that's just part of the game. So many players do that. So many people look for an edge. So many people don't get caught doing that. If the NBA really cares about it, I guess you could give Dillon Brooks a fine of like $10,000, $15,000, something like that.
But at that point,
it's like that is the one thing I would look at the NBA and say, okay, Dillon Brooks has come out and admitted that he's doing that. You could at least pretend like you're gonna throw out some sort of.
I don't. You know what's crazy? He didn't have to. He could have lied because, like, honestly, like,
I respect him for not lying.
Okay, I
respect him for saying that.
I respect him for not lying, but a part of me kind of believed, like, if you looked at how he defends jump shooters throughout the regular season, he does kind of like do that. Like he tries to like kind of hit ball and then hand, like get that.
Well,
lead,
a lot of players do that.
So I guess like at the very end of the jump shot, he makes it way more obvious. But he could have got away with just saying that's just how I defend, and it wouldn't have been a crazy thing to say.
No, but I respect him for being honest because it's like, what are we gonna do? Sit here and pretend like this just doesn't happen?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it does. You're telling me if Jalen Green or Fred VanVleet or one of the Rocket shooters had the same injury that Draymond Green wouldn't be trying to abuse that shit too? Of course he would. Because at the end of the day, as much as people may not like it, that's what great defenders do is they look for any edge they can and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, shout out guys like Draymond and Dillon Brooks who have pride versus a guy who hasn't been in the news for the last couple of years for being dirty, but a guy like Grayson Allen just it's like an annoying dirty. Like
that's to the level of just being like a dirty player in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's why personally, you know what? No, I am a Dillon Brooks fan because I liked him in Memphis too. There's something about his energy. Even though he's not that good.
I can never be a Dillon Brooks fan, but I can respect him, certainly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's all we have to say.
Yep.
If you guys enjoyed, what do you think? Comment about that.
What do you think?
Like and subscribe. Peace out.